Now, a 1.2 billion rand project is expected to rescue farmers struggling to deal with rolling blackouts. The Agriculture Department recently launched the Agro Energy Fund, all aimed at reducing the impact of blackouts on producers. The fund is one of the interventions from a task team appointed by Minister Rheede to find solutions on the energy crisis. But Agri SA's outgoing CEO, Christo joins me now from Centurion for more on this. And Christo, thank you so much for making time for us. And do you think this fund, this intervention by the Minister of Agriculture, Rheede, is effective?
Let me just take you back. About 6 months ago, Agri SA, together with other industry players such as Agbus, we've asked the Minister to really come up with some kind of intervention, because at that stage, load shedding level 6 has had a tremendous negative impact on the industry, especially irrigation farmers. So the Minister then called us all together, Minister Rheede. A task team was formed on which Agri SA, Agbus, BFAP and her own departmental officials, we all worked together then to find a solution. And one of the solutions was then, let's establish a Agro Energy Fund. Part of the fund will consist of a grant portion, and the other part will consist of a loan portion. So it amounts to approximately 1.5 billion rand, but I think it lays a very, very good basis for other financial institutions and state institutions to also be part of this fund, so that we ensure food security for the country and also lessen the financial burden on farmers at this point in time who are suffering as a result of load shedding.
Because we know that they're suffering and the solutions required to assist farmers in, obviously agriculture, it's a matter of urgency. When will the fund then be rolled out?
Yeah, so the Minister announced the fund yesterday in collaboration with Land Bank. Land Bank, if you go onto their website, also the department's website, you'll find the information there. Information outlines who qualifies, what criteria you need to adhere to for your application to be considered. And then they've got contact detail. So it's important that farmers acquaint themselves with the criteria and make contact with the Land Bank as soon as possible, so that they can submit their applications and for those applications then to be considered.
Yeah, I mean, I also was just been reading up on, the fund here, Christo, and I understand that there will be priority given to on-farm producers, thus excluding off-farm processors. But also, the Land Bank will be providing those loans for up to 70% relative to the grant portion. Large-scale producers will receive up to 30% in loans relative to the grant portion, capped at 1.5 million. Is this enough? Are these amounts enough, just in terms of assisting here farmers with some of the challenges that they go through, they experience?
I think that the Land Bank and the Department of Agriculture, they've done their best to bring funding to the table. Your dilemma is that we want, National Treasury to prioritize food security. If you analyze our national budget, you'll find that out of the 2.3 trillion rand, a mere 7% is allocated towards agricultural or towards economic development. The bulk of that money goes towards social development and social interventions. And out of that 240 billion allocated for economic development, a mere 17 billion rand lands on the table of the Department of Agriculture. And then it is expected of that department to drive transformation, to drive land reform also, to come up with these kind of interventions. So I think it's a fiscal problem, and the fiscus needs to take responsibility for food security in the country, and much more money should be made available first and foremost for economic development, so that the Department of Agriculture can benefit, and especially farmers can benefit. We don't have any producer support besides the diesel rebates that we provide to the farmers. Farmers have to fork out additional money to fix roads, to take care of their own security, and to do a whole lot of other things, whilst we have to compete with China, with United States, with Europe, where those farmers get a huge support from the government. So first and foremost, if we can address this issue of prioritization within the national budget to ensure that the focus shift towards economic development as opposed to social development, then I think we will start to address a whole range of social ills in South Africa, because if we don't drive economic development, unemployment will just grow. We've seen youth unemployment, the expanded definition sits at 70%. So we cannot continue along this path.
Yeah, and just speaking of unemployment, leading me to my next question around livelihoods. I mean, oftentimes when we think about funding and support in agriculture, it's towards farmers. But in turn, these farmers, Christo, have to support livelihoods. They have to sustain jobs. Do you think these efforts by the department will assist in doing so?
Indeed. Remember, the agriculture sector provides jobs to the tune of 870,000 jobs. And I don't even want, mention the amount of people that are dependent on that income. And it's mostly your unskilled part of the population that benefits from agriculture. But I think the important thing for us is how do we ensure greater beneficiation in the agriculture sector? We continue to export wool to China, for example. The wool comes back as a final product, or a shirt or a pants or whatever. The same with cotton, the same with many of our other agricultural products. It's important that we create conducive circumstances for small-scale manufacturing, also for larger-scale manufacturing, try to revive our clothing sector again, because we have sacrificed that, at the time when we started to liberalize the economy. We've seen, the figures tell us that the manufacturing sector is in a decline. With a growing population, with a more educated population, that's the sectors that will provide better paid jobs and better opportunities. So yes, we've got a serious economic challenge in this country, but with the right policies and with the political will, we can change the fortunes around for millions of South Africans out there who are in low paid jobs and who are not employed at all.
And I appreciate you speaking to me about this. Christo van Rheede, thank you so much for speaking to me around this issue. Agri SA's outgoing CEO, Christo van Rheede, speaking around the fund. And just important to notify that according to the fund, only applicants that prove viable to repay the loans will be approved. The criteria for the loan, therefore, including financial statements for the last financial year, a business plan to support the loan application, a proof of land ownership or proof of access to the land, as well as cash flow projections for the next 24 months. So if you are a farmer and you're in dire need of this support from the government or the department through this fund, just take note of the criteria and seek this, this relief and support and solution that could better support you in your efforts to provide food as well as sustaining livelihoods. So all my thanks to the outgoing Agri SA CEO Christo van Rheede for his time.